The NFC West should be a fun division to monitor this season. This division has some super competitive teams, two of which have been to the Super Bowl within the past 5 years. The 49ers had a great experienced coaching staff, the Rams have the same plus a pretty stacked roster, the Cardinals are on the rise as a young team, and the Seahawks always find ways to be competitive. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down each team's offseason and ranking where I believe they will finish in 2026, as well as each team's predicted record. Thank you for clicking on this video, and I hope you enjoy.
Drive begins from the 30. Purdy will look to throw it. Going long, there is Jennings. Oh, he's got it! Perfect throw, and then Jennings reaches out to...
Coming in at number 4, I have the San Francisco 49ers. This ranking might surprise some people since they have some obvious talents like Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, but just hear me out. They had one of the worst off seasons of anyone this year. They lost a total of 17 players, 11 of which made starts for them last year, and a few of which were key pieces. Here's a list of every departure from the Niners, and then here's a list of signings they made to replace these departures. As you can see, there's a bit of an imbalance here, not only in quantity of players, but in quality, as none of these signings are upgrades and most are downgrades at their positions. Their biggest splash in free agency was signing tight end Luke Farrell to a $20 million deal just to back up George Kittle and get very limited playing time. Then the whole Leonard Floyd debacle where they released him in preparation for signing Joey Bosa, just for Joey Bosa to change his mind at the last minute and sign with the Bills instead. It's just been a rough free agency period for the Niners. And then there's their draft, which I thought was decent as they didn't really get many steals other than maybe Jordan James in the 5th round, but he's just going to back up McCaffrey anyway. I like Mykel Williams as I see him as a solid true pass rusher off the edge and a good bounce back pickup after prematurely releasing Leonard Floyd. CJ West and Upton Stout were pretty decent pickups as well, but overall I just don't think this team got a lot better, and they actually got a bit worse, which is concerning considering it was already a team that could only muster 6 wins last season. I understand that the team was plagued with injuries, but regardless, it was extremely disappointing, and I don't think they did much of anything to put forward a much better season this year. If the team can stay healthy this year, then they have a better shot at finishing higher than they did last year, but just in general, I don't think this roster is as good as it used to be. All in all, I see the 49ers at a record of 8-9 with a ceiling of 10-7 and a floor of 5-12. It may be a rebuilding year in San Francisco.
Ball coming.
One timeout left for Arizona. Dobbs, good
got him again
in the end zone.
Got him.
Wilson, the diving catch and a touchdown. The first career touchdown for Michael Wilson.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 3 in the division, I have the Arizona Cardinals. This is a tight one between the Seahawks and the Cardinals because I'm actually pretty high on the Cardinals this year. They've been getting increasingly better under Jonathan Gannon, and they had a great draft and made a big splash signing bringing in Josh Sweat in free agency. Their draft consisted of a lot of steals. They brought in Will Johnson in the 2nd round, who's expected to be ready for camp, which is huge news, as the only reason he fell in the first place was because of injury concerns. Then snagging Denzel Ward in the 5th was a great selection that late, as he only fell because of his size, but I believe he has potential to make a pretty solid nickel corner in the NFL. I like the Walter Nolan pickup as well, and getting Jordan Burch in the 3rd round wasn't bad value either. Other than the Josh Sweat pickup, the free agency was pretty quiet, but they retained some key players back to the roster, and I did a full offseason review of them in my best offseason video, so make sure to check that out. To summarize, I think the Cardinals got a lot better this offseason and didn't really lose a whole lot. I think Gannon is a good coach, and this could be a potential playoff berth for Arizona if Kyler Murray can stay consistent, which is something he's struggled to do within the past recent years. Last year, they finished 8-9 in a season that was a big bounce back year after only winning 4 games the year before. This year, I see the Cardinals at a record of 9-8 with a ceiling of 11-6 and a floor of 7-10. Overall, it's a solid roster with a coaching staff that I am bought in on at this point.
Place Lenore inside. Lock, couple fakes, steps away from pressure, going deep down the field for Metcalf. He caught it. Is he in? He is! Touchdown, Seattle!
Coming in at number 2 in the division, falling just short, I have the Seattle Seahawks. This is a division where each team is really only separated by a few games. The Seahawks actually made some pretty interesting moves this offseason, and they may have the most upside of anyone in this division if Sam Darnold performs how he did last year. They took a gamble on Darnold and gave him a 3-year deal to be their signal caller. Darnold is coming off the best statistical year in Minnesota after a very inconsistent career. He posted 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, and just 12 interceptions while also having a 60 QBR. It was a huge breakout season for the late bloomer, but he was in a loaded offense with all the right weapons and a great coaching staff, so how well will he perform on a slightly worse offense? I think Darnold could absolutely be the real deal and have a very similar season here in Seattle. He has former Triple Crown winner Cooper Kupp to throw to, newly emerged and breaking out Jackson Smith-Njigba, on top of a solid running game and an offensive line that isn't horrible but also not the best. They did well in free agency, adding talent around him on the defensive side of the ball, and brought in former All-Pro DeMarcus Lawrence from the Dallas Cowboys, who is older now but still a highly productive edge rusher. The defensive line is actually pretty scary in Seattle with that addition, and their draft is honestly, I believe, one of the best drafts in the league. Bringing in Gray Zabel in round 1 was some much-needed interior offensive line help, adding on an absolute steal in the second with safety Nick Emanwari, who is in some cases a projected top 15 pick. Elijah Arroyo in the third was fantastic as well, as he became a real weapon for Cam Ward in the Miami offense, and it gives Darnold a big target to get the ball to. Torrey Horton in the fifth is one of my favorite picks of the draft, as I was very high on him, and I think he could crack the starting lineup immediately in Seattle as their third wide receiver. This team definitely got better over the offseason, and trading Geno Smith I think works out perfectly fine, as Darnold has more upside in my opinion anyway. Overall, this could be an interesting team in 2026. I view the Seahawks at an 11-6 record with a 12-5 ceiling and an 8-9 floor.
First and goal for the Rams. Stafford looking up top. Got him wide open. Cut to the end zone. And the Rams take the lead. Touchdown. Stafford's a Cup.
In the winner of the NFC West, I have the Los Angeles Rams. I believe the Rams will win this division once again under the coaching of Sean McVay and veteran and future Hall of Famer Matthew Stafford. The Rams finished 10-7 last year and made it to the divisional round, where they actually almost beat the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles in the snow in what was an instant classic of a playoff game. This team is underrated in my opinion, and they are a serious dark horse for another Super Bowl appearance. They lost Cooper Kupp, but they have a true X receiver in Puka Nacua, who was actually injured for most of the season last year, and they signed a hell of a replacement to Cooper Kupp in Devontae Adams to be next to Nacua and give Stafford another elite target to get the ball to. Their free agency was quiet other than that move, but regardless, I don't think they needed to do a whole lot anyway. Their draft was a little underwhelming, but solid nonetheless, as they did trade out of the first round to collect picks for next year. But in the second round, they still snagged the guy they wanted in Terrence Ferguson, the tight end out of Oregon. Tight end was one of the biggest holes for the Rams, and they grabbed a guy with a whole lot of upside to fill that void. I also loved the Chris Paul Jr. pick in the 5th round, as he was easily one of the best off-ball linebackers in this draft. I trust the Rams draft process because they constantly seem to find steals in the draft really well under McVay. All in all, this team is dangerous once again this year. They are a team that performs really well in the playoffs and is an experienced roster with Super Bowl experience and deep playoff experience. I see the Rams sitting at an 11-6 record with a ceiling of 13-4 and a floor of 9-8. Thank you for watching.